Redditors no longer on speaking terms with their former best friend for life due to one incident. What happened? She stopped talking to me after I wouldn't buy anything from her for her MLM. She eventually escaped the MLM, but it's been about 8 years with no communication. Knew a girl for 5 years and every single time she broke up with whatever boyfriend she was dating at the time, she'd take it out on me. That doesn't seem so bad, but she had close to 6 boyfriends a year or something like that. The last straw was when my grandfather died and I was very torn up about it. But turns out she'd broken up with her boyfriend the very same day. So after telling me what a horrible friend I was, and how I am never there for her, I just completely ghosted her. She lives one street over from me, so I constantly see her driving by and staring at me. Ugh. Rented an apartment together, went off to basic training and kept funneling money to him to pay for my half of the rent. He decides to move out and doesn't let the landlord know. I get a $900 collections item added to my credit report. We haven't spoken since he refused to pay it. Our dads got in a verbal fight and we just kinda stopped hanging out. The worst thing is that our dads are cool now, but since I haven't talked to this friend for years, we are now strangers to each other. The old folks know it's easier to forgive an otherwise agreeable person than it is to make a new friend. Borrowed my PC, found all of my passwords auto-saved in Chrome. He deleted as many accounts as he could, sent inappropriate emails to business contacts, deleted personal files. He did it out of nowhere and with no real reason. I just recall him saying, "I am gonna play a prank on you at some point," and I just laughed. I guess that is what he was referring to. Scumbag. Worst part is that he is my cousin and he did this for no reason. A few months after he borrowed my PC, he took a picture of the passwords. She told me my boyfriend had been texting her and they had plans to meet up that afternoon to frick, but she couldn't and had to tell me. We went over to his place. She went in first, and I told her to text me when he started making moves. I get a text, knock on his door. He opens and says, "You shouldn't be here," before slamming the door in my face. I knock again and I say, "I know she's freaking him there. We came together. It's over." We leave together and that was it for me and him. It was over for her and I when she started dating him a week later. 7 years of friendship gone like that. She was a snake. This happened when I was 17. He was 20. She was 18. I had dated him for 3 years at that point and she vehemently hated him the entire time. I guess it was jealousy. Or maybe they had been hooking up together long before that. I'm not sure. They aren't together anymore, but they led similar, unhappy lives. I am with a good man who loves me and we have been together 7 years now. My dad died unexpectedly and she wasn't there for me at all. Her response was basically AWW. At least you have a boyfriend. His wife decided she loved me, wanted me. I don't blame him one bit for cutting ties, though I miss them both very much. We were all young and stupid and not up for maturely dealing with that situation at the time. To make it worse, his last girlfriend, before getting married, made a similar decision. A couple decades later we chatted online for a minute. It was like old times. Same feel, same instant click, same easy conversation and understanding between us. And guess what? He was getting married again. He linked me their Facebook page and they looked great together. Without thinking, I said, "She's really lovely. I can't wait to meet her." He went silent and then dropped a line. Never talked to me again. Still don't blame him. My mom went overseas for a year and before she left she gave me one of those yellow ribbon magnets that said "Keep my mommy safe." I hung it up in my locker at school that my friend and I shared. One day it went missing and she never admitted to it, but only her and I knew the combo to our locker. Did someone just run by the locker when it was open one day and snatch it for no reason? I doubt it. She was a compulsive liar and most likely she got pee at me for something pointless and threw it away. Yes, it's just a magnet, but I was 16 and my mom was just sent halfway across the world to an unsafe country. Every single day I thought whether I'd ever see her again. The magnet meant everything to me. Frick you, Amy. What a bee. We were best friends since grade school and kept in touch despite going to different middle and high schools. She ended up dating a cousin of mine and they got married. We were still pretty close, but I ended up going away for college and during that time she cheated on my cousin and they divorced. I still don't know all the details. I know that I bumped into her brother a few years ago and he was really pissed off when I asked about her. My childhood best friend was at a restaurant having dinner with his girlfriend and invited my roommate and I to join them for after dinner drinks. We arrived at the restaurant and ordered a single pitcher of PBR. Afterwards the waitress dropped off the check which included my friend's dinner and the pitcher of PBR. My friend insisted we split the check 4 ways. I said no way and asked to see the receipt so I could figure out how much we owe for the beer. He made a loud ordeal about it, saying sarcastically, "Oh yeah, the guy who went to community college is going to tell me how to divide the check." My roommate and I gave him some cash for our beer and then left. The next morning I called him to say how crappy he had acted and he brushed it off saying we were both so drunk. We can't drink that much next time. He never owned up to it and I haven't seen him since. What a frickin' cheapskate douche. Had a huge friend explosion which resulted in my wife and I losing several friends. I'll try to keep this simple, names changed to protect the innocent and the guilty. We had a large group of friends from our church for several years. We hung out virtually every weekend, went to the beach, hung out at each other's houses, etc. So one of the couples in the group, we'll call them Dave and Betty, were, gasp, a bit physically intimate without being married. Note that we're all adults in our 20s with jobs and stuff. Anyway, Betty's dad didn't like Dave. Somehow Betty, Dave, and her parents ended up in church counseling to resolve these issues. At some point in counseling, it comes out that they're physically intimate and Betty's dad blows up, demands she stop seeing him, makes a big deal about it to the pastor. Dave's a piano player in the church and they demand he stops playing, etc. So basically my wife and I were 100% on Dave's side in all of this, and no one else was. So we got Dave in the breakup blowout and lost everyone else. Funny epilogue, a few years later it comes out that Betty's dad had been having a secret affair for years, so you know, he comes out super credible in his condemnation of his daughter's premarital physical activity, but you know how that goes. Sounds like you wound up getting to keep the good one. Whenever he would contact me, he would always want something, usually money. He didn't contact me just to hang out or do something with our spouses. I began to dread seeing his name come up on my phone. One of the last times we did get together, he asked for some money and then insulted my wife. I have ghosted him, hoping he changes, but not feeling confident he will. We were best friends since 5th grade. My family even adopted her. I, 13, was debauched by a guy, 21, that we were both friends with. She either didn't believe me or didn't care. Her Facebook bio says, "My brother is an angel. Brother equals debaucher." I remember reading your story elsewhere on Reddit a little while back. I'm sorry this happened to you. Also, killer username. He became more and more religious as time went on and started to expect me to follow the same laws he was starting to follow as an Orthodox Jew. I have nothing against the religion and actually find it quite fascinating. I just was not interested in participating in it. When we lived together, I wasn't allowed to store meat in the house, wasn't allowed to play music, among other things. Eventually he met a girl, and even though Orthodox Jews are not supposed to even touch a girl before marriage, they decided that because they had not been raised Orthodox, they could let this one slide. LOL. So she moved in with her 2 elderly dogs, which would have been fine if they didn't leave them in our apartment unattended for 24 hours every Friday night through Saturday night. Yep, they did not have anyone to take care of their dogs during that time, because all of their friends were also Jewish and participating in the same holiday. I can't remember what it's called, and expected me to do it, but they didn't tell me this. I literally came home on a Saturday afternoon to the dogs whining, no food or water, and having crap all over the place. Nope. Frick that. I ended up moving out and got shafted out of a month's rent in the process. I called him some names, and we haven't spoken since. We were like sisters in high school. Her family was a second family to me because mine was pretty crappy. We went to college together and something changed. She met a new friends group and treated me like every little thing I said or did was the most annoying thing in the world. She'd go out of her way to ditch me for group events with mutual friends. conveniently forgetting to invite me until other mutual friends mentioned it. So I became a doormat for her to try to win her favor back. She had no car, so I drove her everywhere. She got ditched by her friends when it came to campus housing, after planning to ditch me but not telling me anything, leaving me to a random room at assignment because by her plan I'd only find out when it was too late to pick someone. And I pulled her back in to be my roommate so she would have a place to stay, after which she continued to treat my presence like the most annoying thing ever. Her cat got sick and she had no money, so I paid for her cat's emergency treatment, and if it were fresh in my memory I could list so much more. And truth be told, I'd be willing to give a shirt off of my back to any of my friends. I value them so much. For her it was no different. She took advantage of that, but it was never enough to win back her friendship. Then after college we drifted apart. I tried a game to rekindle our friendship. We were once like sisters and I thought it was worth trying to save it. She invited me to her house for a dinner party with her friends. We were watching some show with a character that looked familiar. I asked to use her computer to look up the actor, and open on the desktop was a chat with her boyfriend about how she wished her high school friends would just stop trying. Apparently I stopped being a friend to her in high school. So I did as she wished and I stopped trying. I told her I saw the chat and that we were done. I haven't spoken to her in nearly 10 years. I am sorry you had to be on the receiving end of that. That sounds really unpleasant. She didn't show up to my wedding because her husband couldn't get off work to attend with her. She had a car and plenty of warning and it was 15 minutes away. She was just really codependent with him. Stole my identity and used it to get me charged with a DUI in another state. Was helping me plan my bachelor party and gladly accepted being best man while I was still trying to figure out what happened. Took 2 years to get my license back. Unreal how slow the court systems work in general, but when you need them to admit they made a mistake it goes on the back burner big time. Wedding took place after I figured it all out, so luckily he isn't in any of the memories pictures. Haven't spoken since. It was my brother. She told me that I spent too much time with my husband. She also told me I was too depressed when my mom died. That she was depressed because her boyfriend didn't call her that morning to say hello to her and she's the upset one. Oh, and there was the time she asked if we could open my mom's urn to see the insides and then said it was so cute and totally matches my purse while flailing it around. Who the frick picks up an urn of someone you don't know? There's lots of little things too, I guess. We just kinda grew apart because she was a drama queen and I wanted to go spend time with my dying mother. Then she got engaged to an butthole and I told her I didn't agree. He has put his hands on her, and that was that. We got married and one day I found him in our bed forking a punk woman who maybe had never bathed in her life. We had an awesome relationship and I doubt I'd have been angry enough to end it on the spot if it hadn't been that particular individual in my dang bed. God, I hope you burnt the mattress. My best friend and I both joined the Marine Corps at different times. We ended up being stationed near one another and maintained a strong friendship. He got out and I stayed in. When I would go home to visit him I noticed that he began hanging out with our old friends that I had refused to be around. Eventually he developed some substance abuse habits and I shut him out completely. It wasn't because of his drug use but the company he kept. One day I get a phone call that he overdosed and died in his parents' house. I had never felt so bad in my life for blowing off his phone calls and attempts to hang out when I was home. I named my first son after him. He's still the best friend I've ever had. Oh man, I'm sorry. Life is a strange beast sometimes. Sweet that you named your son after him. I'm sure he would have appreciated and understood the gesture. He used to joke about child molestation all the time and whenever I called him on it, he shamed me with "Can't you take a joke?" and would point out comedians do not literally live out their bits. Like Cosby with Spanish Fly or Louis CK with all those jacking off bits. Ends up he was not joking and him getting caught with Kiddy P ended our friendship. Cosby and Louis CK. Oh, that's unfortunate. I was getting a divorce. My then husband and my former BFF's husband were good friends. I didn't share the gritty details of why my marriage was ending with my friend. My ex was a horrible person to me, but I didn't want to put my friend in an awkward position with her own husband considering the friendship he had with mine. She got mad at me for not telling her the details and made a bunch of unfounded accusations and I knew I'd never be able to trust her again. I hope you find that best friend that actually cares and understands you, if you have not already. Friends do not need to tell you everything that's going on, even if you're best friends. I'm glad you got out of the marriage, by the way. B took a picture of my debit card and stole my money to pay for multiple things on iTunes and £30 fake eyelashes. Cut all contact with her immediately and haven't talked to her for 3 years now. We were best friends for 12 years. Similar, my sister's best friend let her boyfriend get away with stealing my sister's gas card. She couldn't just do ordinary things. It couldn't be a girls' night out. She had to have some sketchy guy there I didn't know. We'd go somewhere and she'd drink and drive. I'd meet her at the beach with her kids and she's surrounded by a group of drunk guy friends and she's also drinking. It could never just be normal. I just outgrew the drama and sadly, she thrived on chaos. Sounds like she thrived on alcohol. Everyone's reply is a bombshell and mine is really lame in comparison. We're 31. We were best mates in high school, but as the years went on I realized he just kinda stopped developing at 15. It's the most bizarre thing. Same clothes, same tired jokes, same 5 favorite songs, same outlook on women and gay people, heavily outdated mentality. To paint a visual, I would entirely expect that walking into his bedroom you'd be greeted with Sports Illustrated centerfolds still stuck on his wall. Does anyone else know someone like this? I used to go over and play video games and outside games with my neighbor all the time in elementary school. One day after playing with our Pokemon cards, we were making paper airplanes. He holds up a piece of folded paper for me and asks me to make a scissor cut through it. The nice guy I am, I help him out, completely unsuspecting of any funny business. Why would I? I've been best friends with this guy for years and we spend a ton of our time together. Big mistake. For some reason he thought it would be funny if he hid one of my favorite cards behind the paper. Holographic Pidgeot if you are curious, and tricked me into cutting my own card in half. Once I realized what happened I felt so betrayed and just started crying. After that it was never the same and we grew apart pretty rapidly. Of course we went through the next 10 years of schooling together, which was uncomfortable to say the least. TLDR. Pokemon card destroyed a friendship. Not a Pokemon card, but a crappy joke destroyed your friendship. I asked her to be my maid of honor and she fell flat over and over again. 3 weeks before my wedding, she texted to ask if she could skip the reception because she didn't want to call off work the next day. She knew about this wedding over a year in advance. She refused to book a room at the hotel we were blocked at, even after I got her a roommate to split the costs. And after I offered to just straight up pay for the hotel room for her. My family was also going to pay for all of her meals for the weekend as well. She expected that during the wedding weekend, I'd be her chauffeur, as she never learned to drive. Her choice, but didn't want to stay at the same hotel as everyone else. She constantly talked crap about all of my other bridesmaids, especially my bridesmaid with Asperger's syndrome who couldn't help her occasional social awkwardness. When she'd ask permission to skip things, like my reception, and I told her I wasn't okay with something, she'd ghost me for days. I ended up firing her as my bridesmaid 2 weeks before the wedding. Don't miss her at all. Looking back on our friendship, she was a total leech who used me to get free food, free booze, and to drive her wherever she wanted to go. We got drunk the day before we'd go home for Thanksgiving break. I was going home a day earlier than her. She struggled with depressions, which I already knew, but that night she drunkenly told me that she tried to kill herself already too, was waiting to do it again over Christmas break because she'd be alone. It hit me that with me going in the morning, she'd be alone in her dorm room the next day. I had no clue to know if she wasn't telling the truth and exaggerating in a drunken ramble, so I called my mom, a licensed social worker, for help. Wrong move. She's under legal obligation to report it to the police. I didn't even have a say in the matter. Police were called. There was no going back and I decided to stand by my decision, knowing I would lose her but hopefully get her some help. Got the RA, snuck her phone and called her brother, who went to the same school as us. He called her parents, and she got taken to the hospital crying about how I betrayed her trust. I was the first and only person she told. I betrayed that and it stuck with me because I know it probably messed her up. After it was over, she claims that she knew why I did it and she wasn't mad, but it didn't matter. Damage was done. We talked maybe a handful of times and it's been about 2 years later. Sometimes I see pictures she or a friend posts and she looks like she's doing well and that makes me smile, even though I miss her so much. Tried reaching out to her one time. She ignored my text, but she seems to be alive and happy, so that's all that matters, I suppose. I'd rather make the right decision and lose a friend, rather than make the wrong decision and lose a friend. We got too close. I got feelings for her. She got feelings for me, and up until that point we both thought we were straight females. We were never official, but the texts we sent one another weren't texts straight girls send. The only problem was, she had a boyfriend the whole time, and I knew. He was a crap guy, but they were still together. We lived in different countries, so I guess I didn't feel as bad. It was really freaking stupid and I never should have let it happen, but I really did love her. We'd spend hours FaceTiming one another until he came home from work and then we couldn't talk. It was so freaking dumb, but I was young and in love, so just kept with it. Eventually they broke up. She rang me at 5 AM crying in her car and I was there for her. A few weeks later she told me she didn't feel the way I thought she did for me. That I meant the things that I said but not in the way you wanted. I was heartbroken. We haven't spoken in over a year now. Haven't felt the same way towards someone since. Sometimes I think about messaging her again because aside from all the gay crap we had a really good friendship. We had everything in common. But I just can't put myself through that again. She's doing well now from what I can see. Lost weight after her breakup and looks really good. I wish nothing but the best for her, but I don't think I could get close to her again. On the plus side though, she helped me realize I'm bi. She had 2 cars. She never did any maintenance, even basics like changing oil. They both died in the same day because there was 0 oil in either. My guy is a mechanic. He looked at them and confirmed they were done. He told her that when she figured out what she wants and what her budget is, he'll absolutely help her with making sure she gets a good vehicle. So goes to look at cars and buys one without any mechanic looking at it. She promptly complained on the book of faces that she can never catch a break because her new car needs new tires, battery, windshield, and a few other things. I remind her she could have asked my guy to check it out first, and that he can help her with that stuff. Good deals, etc. Instead she went on a tirade for 3-4 weeks of multiple tweets a day saying I don't deserve happiness, he should leave me, I'm a worthless human, etc. Eventually mutual friends asked me what's going on, which is when I noticed, hadn't logged into Twitter for a bit, and promptly cut her from my life. Best friends since we were 6. I'm Mexican dating a white guy. She's white, married a Mexican. He got her into religion and had her stop talking to me because I'm not religious. It's been years since I've spoken to or seen her. This guy used to kick her and her daughter out of their apt whenever they fought and he had to think things over. She'd have to stay at a Motel 6 for a week until he forgave her. I still hate him. The Mexican part could be omitted entirely and this wouldn't change at all. We moved into both our first apartments together. I was staying at my BF's house 5 or more days of the week, so I suggested we get a 1-bedroom to save money on space I wouldn't be using very often. I had a bed tucked in the corner of the living room, a dresser, and a cubby. She also had 2 dogs. One was a rescue from a puppy mill and the other was a puppy that had been abandoned in the street. The older dog had abandonment issues. It would revenge pee or poop when he was mad. The puppy would take after his habits because she didn't know how to punish him at all. The puppy would also chew everything up like most do. I would come home from school to a huge mess and dog accidents everywhere. I'd clean it all up before she and her BF would get home. She eventually blamed me for the huge mess and leaving my crap everywhere. I didn't have a closet or a lot of storage like she did. She was PI one time left my undies on the floor, but it's not like I haven't seen her clothes thrown everywhere in her room. She accused me for the apartment being gross. I pointed out I am hardly home and that when I do come home I clean up the mess her dogs made because she refuses to give them the training they need. This made her more mad and she kicked me out. The last time I stopped by the apartment to grab the last of my things, the place smelled horrendously of dog crap. There were poop and pee piles everywhere along with the stuffing of her stuffed animals. I haven't spoken to her in months. I did try reaching out but she never responded. I apologized for something I and our other mutual friends feel I didn't do wrong. She was my best friend up until that event. Whoa, you should report her to animal control for abuse and neglect. Those dogs deserve better. My sister's best friend had a bunch of drama going on when she got married at 18. A week later, said friend moved out of her husband's house, fricked the neighbor, and got pregnant. Her friend then got mad at my sister for consoling her husband. I lost my best friend to opiates this last summer. These last 2 years I had to break contact because he was still using. Then he died. Just like that. I'm so freaking mad at myself for not doing more. I still haven't dealt with his death. Honestly, I don't know how. I used to just use drugs in the past, but I've been clean for 2 years now, so that's not an option. I'm just sad, I guess. Well, we were just having a conversation and she called me an acquaintance instead of best friend. I thought we were best friends for 6 years until that day. When I was 11 in 1978, my skateboard was my life. It was a Type A deck with gull wing trucks and kryptonic wheels. One day it went missing. I was beside myself crying and thought my world was coming to an end. After looking everywhere for it, my supposed best friend starts laughing and making fun of me. "Here is your dumb skateboard." I told his parents what he did and never talked to him again. Still salty about it. She didn't invite me to her wedding. After years of me listening to her moan about all her fake friends back home and how awfully they treated her, and me cleaning up the emotional mess that was Haley. They were the ones in her wedding party. I didn't even get a text. Slept with my ex-GF. I never would have known. He didn't have to tell me, but when he told me, he had a sense of pleasure about it, and not doing it because of guilt. I had a suspicion he enjoyed watching others in pain. This confirmed it. Told him to get fricked. I was the best man in his wedding. I am godparent to his first child. He cheated on his wife while she was 6 months pregnant with their second child. Haven't talked to him in 7 years. Met my wife. Then my friend's girlfriend got upset that another woman was taking my time. Then a lot of missed get-togethers, and all of a sudden years later we haven't spoken. It was a snowball effect from several different incidents, but there are 2 that stand out the most. First is that she lied to me and my husband about possibly having breast cancer, so that my husband would drive her tweaker BF to her so they could get high. The second happened when she got pregnant. Said she couldn't wait to get the parasite out of her, then got high in my bathroom, proceeded to give birth 6 months later. Spent a lot of time missing our time together when it was good, but learned the hard way you can't sustain a relationship on memories alone. Growing up together through middle and high school, we always talked about going to college in another state together and being roommates. By the time senior year rolled around, we started getting distant, different schools in the same city, extracurriculars with different schedules, jobs, etc. And we didn't talk about the college thing anymore. Depression kicked in for me hard when I realized I wouldn't be able to afford school, even to our local state college. When my best friend texted me one day stressing over whether to accept a $30,000 a year scholarship to a school across the county or a full ride to local college, jealousy set in, and I snapped and told her to shove off for complaining when she at least had options to go to school at all. The next day I got pulled out of class with a few other students. Representatives from the local college came down to present each of us with our scholarship offers in person. I wound up with one that covered 75% of my tuition over 4 years, almost the exact same one my best friend found out she got the day before. I sat through the whole ceremony numb and avoided talking to anyone the entire rest of the day. I knew that even if I apologized to her, the damage was already done. This makes me so sad. You should tell her what happened. Even if it doesn't fix everything, you should set the record straight. People say dumb things when they are upset. I was in a similar situation, but in your friend's shoes. My old friend reached out to me 6 years later and explained her position. Even though we didn't stay friends, I think we both felt better from it. I think she had a psychotic breakdown. She had a blood disease that meant terrible allergies. Like, ambient mold outside in the autumn could send her into anaphylactic shock. She also had controlling, religiously conservative, emotionally abusive parents, a manipulative ex-boyfriend, the if you leave me I will kill myself type of emotional abuse, plus a history of struggling against anorexia, with a lot of hang-ups about food. So very shortly after coming to college, she really let loose, went crazy with decorating her room and claiming her space her own body, met a nice boy, fell in love, and wound up pregnant. Between her crappy parents and her life-threatening health condition, she decided to terminate her pregnancy. I and other friends circled around her supportively. I loaned her $500. I and other friends walked with her to therapy, drive her to doctor appointments, took away knives when she started to self-harm, and wrestled her to the floor when she threatened to jump off a nearby bridge known for being lethal. One by one, she turned on us, slammed doors in our faces, made accusations about what we plotted against her. She snuck into one girl's room and literally cut faces out of the photos the girl had posted on her wall. This culminated in her trying to get me kicked out of school by telling the dean of students I had threatened, harassed, and purposefully ostracized her. The dean believed her, despite the lack of evidence. Honestly, I think my friend believed herself too. I was forced to write an apology letter for behaviors I didn't do, or get expelled. I also faced the threat of expulsion if I ever talked to my friend again, or even talked about her publicly. So yeah, our last contact was a letter the dean made me write, which the dean then edited and sent. I don't really blame that girl. She needed serious medical and psychological help. The dean of students failed us both with that whole debacle. I hope she's alright now. That was 13 years ago. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.